Hello, thank you for joining us on Talking Europe on France 24 and Radio France International. At the end of a week in which there has been much discussion about the international order, for example, at the Paris Peace Forum, we're pleased to welcome the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas. Hello. Your exact title is High Representative of the EU for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and you're also Vice President of the European Commission. You've been in this job for almost a year. You're the former Prime Minister of Estonia from the Liberal Estonian Reform Party.
Welcome, Kaja Kallas. You are currently calling all the states to renew their pledge to international law and order. Why is that? Who does not play by the books, according to you?
Well, I think international law is under heavy fire if we look at what is happening in the world. We have the United Nations Charter that says that you can't attack another country, you can't attack the sovereignty or territorial integrity of another country, but yet here we are, we have many conflicts, many wars around the world. And international law is something that is really, protecting the smaller countries, and the majority of the world countries are small countries, so that their big neighbors don't make a step towards them. So if you think right now that it doesn't concern you, then it's just a matter of time, and we really need to preserve this world order where might does not make right, but actually it's the rights that are in place and everybody knows how to operate.
Let's start with an overview, maybe, of the situation in Gaza.
Yeah, do you have the impression, Kaja Kallas, that the ceasefire is going to hold? And also, what do you think the EU can provide as a contribution going forward?
Well, the ceasefire was very much waited for, and the release of hostages, but it was clear that it was the first phase, and in order to have a sustainable peace, it requires the international backing of any such steps, and we see this being very fragile right now. And that's why we are, of course, also thinking what we can do on our side. We have the two missions when it's EUPOL COPS and EUBAM Rafah missions that we have there working on the ground, and what more can we do to also contribute to the international stabilization force so that there would be the sustainable peace.
Let's move to another subject inside the EU. In the Netherlands, the outcome of the national elections saw the Liberals and the far-right party in a tie. Geert Wilders' PVV is holding up as it took harsh position against Ukrainian refugees, against migrants in general, and woke ideas. Is the mood changing in Europe, according to you?
Well, if you look, the Netherlands elections went like this, but also there was elections before in Romania, for example, that also delivered results, and Moldova, where we had also helped with Europe to fight with the false information and all this that was rising. I think these are positive signs, but at the same time, we also see these, powers rising all across Europe that are, asking different questions and pushing maybe Europe to other direction. I think we are in these very turbulent times where our adversaries are outside, and we should focus on energy in really combating the adversaries that are attacking us.
Kaja Kallas, let's talk about Ukraine. At the last EU summit, Belgium, in a rare move, vetoed a deal to use frozen Russian assets to implement a reparation loan for Kiev. Ukraine is stressing that it needs this money urgently to boost its defense industry. What do you think is the way out of this deadlock?
Well, let me correct you, because Belgium didn't veto. We had the discussion, and Belgium was really expressing the concerns that they have, a lot of questions where they need answers. And the European Commission was tasked to come up with a legislative proposal to answer also those questions to move forward. So it is is definitely not a veto, but it's clear that they have worries because the biggest share of those assets is with Belgium. We have in Europe this solidarity, which means that, you know, we share this burden according to our size, and that was also voiced by all the member states around the table. Of course, Belgium is not alone in this risk.
Russian drones have entered the airspace of many EU countries. The EU wants to build a drone wall. Some French defense companies are even getting ready for the challenge. You said the drone wall will be operational by 2 years, in 2 years from now. Is that realistic? And is the Commission overstepping its role as defense is a national competence?
Well, I start from the latter question. So, no, actually, the leadership on this is with the member states. The only thing that the European Union tries to do is to coordinate and put, you know, member states together, because some projects are too large for any single member state, but we can do them together. And coming to your first question, I recently visited Ukraine, and also there the drone factories, and it's very impressive, the innovation that they do, but also how fast they are able to produce drone interceptors. They have the very clear view how it operates because they have it already in place, so we don't have to invent a wheel. We can you know, do this and learn from their lessons.
On the war in Ukraine as well, you welcomed the Trump administration decision to sanction two Russian oil giants. But of course, Donald Trump remains unpredictable. He regularly threatens Europe with more tariffs if Europe doesn't do certain things. Do you think he wants a weak Europe at the end of the day?
Well, he certainly wants a strong America. So if it is making everybody else weaker, then I think his priority is America. But of course, it's a question for us how we act in this situation. So Europe is still the believer in the free trade, and we see a lot of partners across the world who believe in free trade. So we also try to build partnerships with those countries.
You're mentioning, of course, maybe a trade agreement on Mercosur, with Mercosur, between the EU and Latin America. France is warming up to the deal, apparently, but you announced it a bit quickly, maybe. You are very eager to make new friends on another continent because we could use some geopolitical support?
Well, that is one, but I think if we look at the economy of Europe and the economy of countries, then it's definitely our companies also need markets, and that's why, you know, Mercosur would bring the biggest free trading area of 700 million, and I know the worries that are there in France, and that's why Commission has also you know, put forward new safeguards for those worries, which is very, very important for the farmers, for example.
Are you worried about a backlash, though, still? Because even if there's agreement between heads of state and government, we could still see pushback from farmers, as those big protests you remember from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, of course. This is the time that we are living today, that you know, big processes are very often taken hostage. We are democracies, so everybody is ready to protest as well. But we have to keep in mind that there are other powers outside Europe that really want us to be at each other's throats, and they are finding the little fires that are within our society and pouring the fuel into both sides so that we would be clashing, because if we are fighting each other, we are actually weaker towards our adversaries.
Let's move to the African continent, Kaja Kallas. In Sudan, you have denounced the brutality of the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, and the ethnic cleansing of civilians. Is it an active genocide? What is the EU response to it?
Well, this situation in Sudan is unbearable, and it doesn't have the attention in the media as other conflicts have. What we are trying to do is to call on those parties who are supporting, you know, warring parties with the weapons to stop that, because the human suffering is just so enormous. And we are trying, of course, we are the biggest provider of humanitarian aid, but I think for the stability we need the war wars to stop.
As the EU diplomatic chief, you took part in the Paris conference to support the peace in the Great Lake region of Africa. Are you satisfied with the outcome?
Well, I think it is important that we engage with our African partners, and this peace in Africa is very important for us because, you know, all the worries that come from Africa, if there's no stability and people can't live where they are, they come also to our continent. But there are a lot of pledges of, you know, countries supporting, also European Union supporting with 129 million euro of humanitarian aid, but everybody should understand that for stability, for prosperity, for investments, you need peace.
Kaja Kallas, we've seen the US cutting back on its development aid in Africa and other parts of the world. And actually, if we look at EU member states, some of those development aid budgets have been going down as well. Do you worry about the impact of all that in Africa if Europe goes kind of in the same direction as what the US has done?
Well, if we look at the bigger picture, it is clear what you say. United States has withdrawn its help, and all the countries in the world are behind our doors asking us to fill the void. It's clear that our taxpayers can't do that. We can't fill the void of all the countries and all the people in the world. We have many worries, many places where we are the biggest humanitarian aid donor, but there are a lot of rich countries around the world who should also shoulder the burden with those countries who are not that rich. So clearly we are trying to do our share, but we can't fill the void that America is leaving behind.
Kaja Kallas, as the EU diplomacy chief for 1 year now, it's a very complicated role, and we know that because you're in competition with the member states and also heads of institutions. What is your agenda? What would you be satisfied to achieve within the 5 years that you will be there?
The first thing actually that I started is with Syrian sanctions and relief of Syrian sanctions. I've been dealing with this, and that was one thing that we did in the beginnings. But I think what is my big goal is to make Europe a geopolitical power, that we would matter on the world stage, whether it's in Africa, in Latin America, or Asia, or of course Europe.
Thank you, Kaja Kallas, for this interview.
Thank you very much, High Representative Kaja Kallas, for being on our program.